Well, it's that time of year. And it flies by. It seems like it was yesterday we were playing a bowl game and recruiting, and now it's time to not time to get after it. Had a good fall camp. We've stayed healthy, and guys have worked hard. And teams coming together. Now it's time to go out and put it on the field and see what we're made of. UConn presents some problems because we don't really know what to expect. Been asked several times, how do you prepare for a team? New head coach, new coordinators, really no film to go off of, and that is a real problem. We don't really know what to expect. We're going to have to adjust very quickly. We've talked all week about just controlling what we can control, which is us. We want to go out and play clean football. We want to go out and play with great effort. We want to go out and do the things that we were asked to do them well, avoid the turnovers, avoid the penalties, the big mistake. And then we'll have to rally to what they are. We'll find out early in the game just how they're going to play defensively, just what to expect. Offensively, really what it's going to look like. We're going to have to do a great job adjusting, and I think our kids are aware of that. And hopefully we can do that at a level and at a pace that that gives us a chance to be competitive and be competitive from the first snap on. So, other than that, we're going to keep doing what we're doing every day, just getting ready, and look forward to Saturday right here at home. What questions do you have?
Coach Jacob Nielsen, can I ask you about the new jerseys that were released this morning? Can you give us some context on how those sort of came to be and just a little bit about that?
Yeah, wasn't expecting that to be my first question for the day, but hey, might as well be, Jake. I don't know. We want to change all of our uniforms out. It's impossible to do them all at once. It's just way too costly and extremely expensive. And so this was a year that we wanted to change our road uniforms. And in looking at possibilities of patterns and jersey designs, just kind of a throwback to the Merlin Olsen days with the shoulder stripes and pant stripes. Just kind of kept coming up, and as we talked to Nike, they had an example that we thought was really, really clean, classy, and would look good in a ton of different combinations. So that's what we went with. I think it came out really, really well. Guys are going to like it, and eventually we'll have a blue to go with it. But the whites and staying here and playing at home in an all-white environment is pretty cool to start with a new uniform.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner from the Herald-Journal. I just wanted to ask you, collectively, what positional groups do you feel made the biggest strides during fall camp? What areas of the game do you feel you shored up the most during those last 3 weeks?
Wow, tough questions right out of the gate. I feel like you kind of have to talk about the wide receiver group just because you lost so much productivity, and there's such a just a big void when you consider 30-plus touchdowns and I don't know how many catches and yards, but it was a lot. I've been really pleased at how that group has attacked the problem, really collectively. The fact that you're getting plays from everybody, we're playing a lot of guys, we're using a lot of personnel packages, but then the veteran in the room, in terms of McGriff, has taken ownership of the room. So I've been really, really pleased with that. That is where we lost the most from one room. Beyond that, it was one guy here or there. I do think that at linebacker, I think A.J. Vongvachan has picked up a ton of slack, and M.J. Tafisi stepping in as he has. I feel like the two of those guys have played very well together all camp and have communicated well and picked up where we left off in terms of Justin Rice. So, I don't know that it's fair to really just talk about those two, but they're the two off the top of my head that I've noticed probably either the biggest shoes to fill, and also maybe just something that has been noticeable on a daily basis. Probably, if we went any further than that, just the ability for Daniel Griesiak to step in and combine with Pat and Byron Vaughns to take over, I thought were huge shoes to fill in Nick Henninger and just what he brought to the table every day in energy and productivity. So I'm hoping that all three of those areas, that when you watch us play on Saturday, it's seamless. It doesn't, you don't see a big difference from last year. If you do, hopefully it's just in a good way, more production or maybe more guys stepping in and playing but I'd like to think that we've attacked those issues in a good way.
Coach, this is Eric Franson. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so with 106.9 The Fan, and Coach, I just your comments about Jim Mora, NFL coach, UCLA, stepping into a situation at UConn, which has struggled for several years, and then he looks like he's lost his defensive coordinator. Don't know if that's a permanent thing or not, but just if you could comment on the coach and the coaching staff on the other side of the field from you and who you're going to be facing in Logan on Saturday.
Well, it's not every day that you face a guy that's got that track record. I mean, to play, to coach in the NFL like he has and at the Power 5 level, I mean, it speaks for itself. So tremendous amount of respect for his career and what he's been able to do. He obviously stepped into a little bit of a strange situation, and it's gotten stranger with the absence of the defense coordinator. But he's a defensive guy, and I have to believe that he can step in and get things calmed down, and they'll come in ready to play. I'll tell you the same thing I tell the players. I just have to assume that if we can go from 1-5 to 11-3, so can anybody else. And I know they've got anywhere from 10 to 15 transfer players in the two deep on their roster. We have to expect the best team we're going to see all season. And I know that's saying a lot because there's some great teams on the roster, but we play them one at a time. And you got a great coach staff with a lot of years under their belt, and they have the ability to come in and affect their roster just like we did. We don't want to look past anything other than the first game, what we can do, and respect the fact that they're going to come in and play lights out.
Coach Anderson, Jason Turner again. I wanted to ask you about Jackson Mitchell, their linebacker. He's a Butkus Award candidate, had 120 tackles last year, I think 3 forced fumbles. What do you see from him that allows him to be, so productive?
Downhill physical player that can run. I mean, I think anytime you get to the ball that many times, you obviously have a knack for it. You have a nose for the ball, and that's not something that you just see off film. But he is always around the ball, and he tends to play downhill. I think he should fit what they do. You basically, I know there's a transition going on defensively right now, but they stayed in the house with the defense coordinator, and there's a track record between him and Jim. So I would think he's probably of the guys on the field the most familiar with what they're already doing, and would expect him to come in and continue to play at a really high level. And you're going to have to get a body on him every snap.
Coach Brian Phillips, Big Blue USU Aggie News. With UConn not naming a starting quarterback, how tough is it to prepare for what they're going to give offensively to you guys when it could be any one of 4 guys at this point in time?
Yeah, I think just week 1 in general is got to be a nightmare for a defensive coach. We do at least, I think, have some idea of what we expect the personality to be of the offensive coordinator himself, and not sure that it's going to matter which one of the quarterbacks plays. However, we know they brought in a Penn State transfer, and then they've got another kid coming back off an injury. It may sound cliche, but we just got to line up and play sound defense and tackle well, and be ready for a little bit of everything. First quarter, first half, especially, our defense can have to do a great job of taking some notes and getting in and getting on the sideline and adjusting really, really quickly. But it's a nightmare for the defensive staff at this point, not knowing what to expect, because you can't dictate. You just have to line up and adjust, and you got to do it on the fly. And as you mentioned, it could be any number of guys and all bring different skill sets to the table.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Mayhorn with the Ag Ship. You've mentioned sort of trying to just prepare within yourselves for a new head coach. What does without asking you to devolve too much, what does the actual preparation process look like when you have so many transfers on an opposing roster and you have to sort of prepare for guys that you've never seen in these systems before?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to X's and O's. It's not the particular person in the sense. It's more, what do we look like versus this set? How do we, what if we get this? What if we get that? And try to cover as many bases as you can. A little bit of fall camp is about that anyway. You're trying to prepare for an entire season over the course of a month. And you may be preparing in fall camp for something you don't see till week 10. But when you see it, it's going to matter. So take that approach. We've prepared for what it looks like when they go tackle over. We've prepared for a formation of the boundary, empty, two tights. try to recall from that stuff and stay within the framework of what we are. And if we play with great tempo, if we chase the ball well, if we tackle well, and we avoid the undisciplined mistake, then we have a chance to be successful. Beyond that, we're going to have to adjust in game to what we're actually seeing. Are they playing with tempo? Are they playing with 2 and 3 tight ends? Is the quarterback extremely mobile? That is an in-game adjustment, and our offense will deal with some of that as well. Are they 3 down? Are they 4 down? Are they blitzing? Are they playing coverage? You're going to have to adjust, and whoever adjusts quickly and at the, really the most efficiently gives you an edge, especially early in the season, game 1, game 2 of the season, at least up to a point where you start having enough tape to have some patterns and some tendencies and a better idea of what you're going to see.
Coach, personnel question for you. Looking at the depth chart that was released this morning, Pule is he's in the 2 deep on 3 separate positions on the offensive line. So is he kind of going to be a glue guy depth-wise for you guys? And then overall, just what's your confidence level in the offensive line position group and going into the first game?
Yeah, I felt like we've had a really good week. I would have told you 2 weeks ago we still had a long way to go. Second scrimmage, we didn't have our best day. Of course, we're blocking some pretty dynamic guys as well, so they can make anybody frustrated. But Pule brings a tremendous amount of flexibility and versatility to us. I think he factors in the starting lineup at any point. And he and Dolph both can slide from center to guard, and so I think there's a tremendous amount of versatility going on there. I've been pleased that with daily progression, we've been without Pule, we've been without Jacob South, we've been without Cole Moats already at times during fall camp. That has started to look more and more like normal the last few days, and we've started to play better. I'm hoping that all those guys are ready to play Saturday. They all look to be on paper ready, healthy, and have enough snaps under their belt that I think we can calm down and kind of get back to some continuity up there that we just weren't able to have the first 2 weeks. And you'll see a few young names and new names that pop in there. Waylon Lapuaho has been one of those that everybody's seen, and he's been thrown in, and Meacham and Bowles. I mean, we got more bodies than we had a year ago. Now, what 5 play most of the snaps and what 1 or 2 guys plug and play to keep them fresh is really where we're at moving forward up into game time.
Coach Anderson, I guess what would you at least suspect would be UConn's offensive and defensive identity? I know there's obviously be in-game stuff, but what do you think is going to be what they hang their hat on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, I think we're kind of expecting a little bit of a pro-style approach offensively, a lot of shifts and motions, a lot of movements, formations, which is a challenge because we really don't show our defense that on a daily basis. We stay spread out and play fast, so that is going to be a complete different dynamic for our defense to deal with it. Which quarterback goes may determine how much quarterback run they do, but basically from what we've seen from the offense coordinator in past seasons and kind of his MO is you're going to have to match up to a lot of different looks. You're going to have to communicate really, really well and get lined down to all the pre-snap motions and bells and whistles. And so we don't want to turn guys loose and keep guys uncovered and end up out-gapped because we don't do a good job of that. Defensively, we've got to be prepared for 3 and 4 down fronts. What little bit we've seen, it's hard to tell because Jim's the players he had in UCLA like to play a lot of man coverage, but it wasn't something they played a whole lot of last year at UConn. So it's probably a little bit more of guesswork for our offense going against their defense than maybe our defense is dealing with. We really don't have a great clue of what we're going to see. And now with the late defensive coordinator change, if that's what it is, it could throw a wrinkle into that as well. So line down and play sound football and try not to make a lot of mistakes and figure it out as we go.
Hey, Coach Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan again. Just the return game has been a weapon for USU for several years. Savon Scarver, he's gone, so you got to replace kick return and punt return. How is that developing, do you feel, for your team this coming season?
Well, I don't know if we got Savon Scarver back there, and the guy's an All-American, so that's super big shoes to fill. But I do feel like with the addition of Tyrell Vaughn from California, he's a two-time All-American out there, and he has proven to be really, really comfortable back there catching punts and making the first guy miss is something that just comes very naturally to him. Cooper Jones is going to potentially get some opportunities. Kyle Van Leeuwen, any of those three guys you could see at punt return and kick return, some of those same names with the addition of Robert Briggs, a freshman, A.J. Carter. Looked at him, return kicks back in high school, and has proven to be a guy that we could lean on as well. They're still kind of works in progress, but I feel like we've got a good pool of guys to choose from. And probably in the very near future, we'll settle in on this is this guy's job. These two guys are going to go back for kick returns and won't make a lot of adjustments. But this first week or two, you might see more than normal, just trying to get a feel for who really has a knack for it, who's comfortable in game settings, and who can maybe give us an edge, potentially score in those two teams.
Coach, I want to ask you about Kaleo Nevis. He's a guy, obviously, he's been in the program for a couple of years. It seems like in a lot of position groups, you just plugged in transfers, and obviously Switz may have been that guy in striker if he hadn't gotten hurt. But can I ask you just about Kaleo and his development and progression and how he was able to earn a spot where he's probably going to see a lot of playing time at that striker position?
Well, he'll absolutely see a lot of playing time. Between striker and special teams, he's going to be an impact. He's one of those guys, I think, that does exactly what you ask him to do. Just keep developing, keep working hard every day. Don't get frustrated because you're not the guy right now. Push to be ready when your opportunity presents itself. He handled Switz coming in perfectly, just kept working and got better over the course of the spring. When Switz went down, created an opportunity for him. He's still competing for the job with Amari Okeke coming in from California. I mean, he's still got somebody in there battling. We can't count on one guy. We need to have multiple players that we can throw at the problem. There's a potential to slide the back end around and slide another guy up if need be. So he's done what we've asked him. He's continued to improve. He's a better tackler. Physically, he's in better shape. He understands the defense at a higher level, and he's a guy that we trust. And so he is going to impact the game in a lot of ways between striker and special teams. How many snaps and what those packages look like, a lot of that's going to be dictated based off the offense we're playing on a given week anyway.
Coach Brian Phillips again. Since you were just talking about packages, in the event you went with a nickel package, what cornerback do you see filling that spot?
I'm not sure that we have to sub-package initially with the versatility we have in Amari, the versatility we have in Kaleo, but we've got the ability we've got three corners we feel really, really good about right now today, and A.J. Carter, Mike, and Dre, and any of those guys could plug in that spot. But at the same time, feel really good about our safety position now, having Dom Tatum back on the field with Hunter and Ike and Gervin. So I think we've got the versatility to either slide a corner in or slide a safety down and match personnel, big personnel, small personnel, whether we're nickel, dime, whatever that may be. We're healthy at this point, and we do have some flexibility that maybe we didn't have this time last year.
Coach, Jason Turner again. I just wanted to ask you one more UConn personnel question. Most of their key guys back offensively at skill positions were freshmen last year. They're leading returning rusher, 3 of their top 4 pass catchers a year ago. How dangerous can those guys be, with a full year of experience under their belts? They already did some pretty good things last year as freshmen.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really judge just what kind of jump a guy can make. You look at guys in the past. You look at Derek Wright and DT. I know DT didn't play a ton of games, but his productivity was fairly low. Derek Wright, was almost non-existent as a junior, and then both those guys blow up. That can happen on any roster, depending on we just talked about Kaleo. Just watching Kaleo grow over the last year has been a lot of fun. So I think you just have to anticipate that these guys are going to come in and play their best, and they're going to be dynamic across the board, and it's going to take our absolute best effort to win. And be surprised if that's not the case. I would much rather take that approach than look at the stat sheet and say, well, they're just not bringing anything back. You got to give credit for off-season and guys working and putting in the time and effort and improving over the course of the off-season, and that's what we'll prepare for.
Coach, you've got a little bit of a unique body type with Dom in that safety room. Do you see him as sort of able to play a kind of a different role than the other guys in that room, or do you expect him to be kind of just like what Hunter or what Durbin or Ike is doing?
Well, he does have some length and some range, and he's put on about 10, 15 pounds from what you guys saw a year ago. I do think he has the versatility to play really any of the three safety positions, but it takes more than two guys to play a whole game. The pace we want to chase the ball and what we ask these guys to do also in special teams, you're going to see Dom, Hunter, you're going to see Gervin, you're going to see Ike Larson. All four of those guys are going to play. And as we were talking sub-package-wise, there's a chance that you could see three of them on the field at any given time, and all of them are starters on multiple special teams, which is, the first play defense anyway. Those coverage teams are important, and they all factor in big. So I think it's going to take them all, and Dom definitely gives us a lot of versatility and length that you don't always get back there in the back end.